What's happening, bass players? Ryan here from BassMatter.com, taking you through the core bass learning program. And in this lesson, we're going to start figuring out how songwriters choose which chords to use and why they work the way that they do. That way, as a bass player, you can look at a song and have a good idea of where it's already going to go. Let's get to work. Songwriting is something that is a great skill for anybody to understand the templates that information is pulled from. Now, in this particular lesson, we're going to cover kind of the foundational process of how songwriters put chords together. This is a common question that I get asked about how do songwriters know what chord comes next and they make it sound good. Well, we've talked about over the last several lessons a conversation about the diatonic order, diatonic scales, which numbers were major and minor, which chords were seven chords, which chords were triads. In this lesson, we're going to tie pretty much all of those things together to give us an idea of how music sounds when we start putting particular chords together. Okay, so again, I'm using an app here called Chord Pro. It's a very, very good app. It'll help you understand how song structure takes place, and it's a great tool to work with because when you know how songwriters start to put information together and start creating a song, you can be playing something and already have a pretty good idea of where they might be going to the next chord and how they're going to get from point A to point B. So, for this lesson to really make sense, make sure you go back and review the diatonic order, make sure you review triads, and make sure you review the seven chords, okay? And we're going to look at how those different things sound today. So first and foremost, if I use my app here, and I'm going to make a song, okay? So let's choose the key of C, and let's go ahead and pick some numbers, okay? Let's go ahead and pick the numbers 6, 4, 5, 1, okay? So in the key of C, my 6 is going to be minor and it's going to be the note A. So I'm going to hit my A minor and then I'm going to go to, what did I say, 6, 4, 5, 1. The 4 is going to be an F major. So let me go to my F major. There we go. My 5 is going to be my G, and 5s are major. And then my 1 is going to be C, and that's major. Let's go ahead and hear the song. There's our song, okay? That gives us an idea of how songwriters start to put songs together. Now again, these rules are not hard and fast. You can bend the rules, you can add more notes, you can take away more notes, and really start creating a bunch of different colors in a particular song. And songwriters love to start twisting things up to make things sound bluesy and sound jazzy and sound funky. And they start breaking the rules of the diatonic system and start using accidentals, which we talked about before. And those things are all okay. Music is totally flexible. And the thing about music is that some things will sound good to somebody and some things will not sound good to another. The hardest part about being a creative artist is that we have to recognize at some point that we can't make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time. And when you can accept that particular reality about being a musician, all of a sudden playing and creating becomes a lot easier because we can't make everybody happy. And that's one of the big differences that we see with what I refer to as simple music and complicated music. We see this all the time. Simple music isn't something that's necessarily easy to play. Let me make sure that I'm very clear on that. Just because something I would be calling simple music doesn't have to be not impressive from a technical standpoint or really quite amazing musically. But simple music is going to be in a category of stuff that I would say is what sells. Simple music is what people are willing to buy. Remember I referenced before that 4-chord song from Axis of Awesomeness? That is a great example out there about how so many people will buy music and enjoy music and remember music that is just a simple combination of chords. We see a lot of other really amazing artists out there, right? Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, how can I not toss them out there as being a bass player, right? What about bands like Tool? What about bands like the Yellow Jackets or the Rippingtons or Dream Theater? These guys are absolutely monster musicians, masters of their craft. But who usually do you see attending those kinds of concerts in the first place? Usually it's another group of musicians, right? Because what they are doing as a band is extremely musical and very interesting and very entertaining, but it's also very complicated. And if we were to look at a combination of what sells versus what doesn't sell by volume of work, the pop stuff almost is always going to outsell the complicated music that's using more elaborate chords and more out-of-key type stuff, just simply because it's what the brain is going to be listening to and consuming. Now, of course, the conversation about was it psychological conditioning or is there an actual chemical reaction where the brain likes 1, 5, 6, 4 more than something else? That's something that's way out of my pay grade. I don't know the answer to that. But we can use just basic statistics out there. Most number one hits is going to be a combination of simple chord structures out there. It doesn't have to be complicated to sound good and be popular. Let's continue expanding this and go into our 7 chords now. So let's listen to this again. Actually, let me just make a whole other line real quick here. And this second line is going to be nothing but 7 chords. So I'm going to use all 7 chords to show you how the adding that 7th note really starts to make a different sound in there. So let me go to my C major 7. There it was. Double check, everything's correct. Okay, so the first line, the first 4 measures are going to be just our triads, okay? So we've got A minor, F major, G major, and C major, and then we're going to have our second line, which is A minor 7. Then it's going to go to F major 7, then G7. That's our dominant 7 chord that we talked about in our last video, and then our C major 7. Let's listen to both lines played back to back so we can start hearing how 7 chords add a whole new layer of color to our tone. Sevens. Some people look at 7s in general and say that they really offer a whole new dimension to the chord because 7 and 1 are well, 7's right next to 8 and 8's are 1, right? So major 7s usually have a much more tense or a much more dark tonality because 7 and 1, although they are far apart from each other from an interval standpoint, it's just a semitone difference for a major. A major 7 is just 1 fret away from 1 or from 8. And so it sounds, there's some tension in there. So major 7s, although major tonalities may be called happy, major 7 isn't necessarily always thrilling and exciting because there's some tension there. Minor tonalities aren't always dark or sad or unhappy either. Minor tonalities are absolutely beautiful. And let's make sure that we look at the balance between major and minor. If we look at the diatonic order again, in every key, there are 3 major chords, 3 minor chords, and 1 diminished chord. So of course, diminished is the odd man out, and major and minor equally make up the bulk of an actual key signature. Whether or not songwriters choose to use them evenly is something that's very different. Now, like in this, which is 6, 4, 5, 1, so 6 is minor, right? 4 is major, 5 is major, and 1 is major. So in this particular mix-up, we've got 3 major tonalities and 1 minor tonality. But when we made it a 7 chord, right? A minor 7 was a minor tonality. F major 7, although it has a major 7 triad, it has that 7 in there, so it kind of crosses over in the middle and gives us that darker tonality. A G7 was going to be our major triad over here, but it has a flat 7, so we kind of start blending the major and minor tonalities together to get our 7 dominant chord, which is quite a beautiful tone, by the way. And then, of course, finishing off our C major 7, which was the same as the F major 7, where we have the major triad, but that 7 and 1 are just 1 semitone away from each other, which creates a different feel, a different kind of tone. Guys, this lesson, I hope, had a lot of light bulbs go off for people. Songwriting is, of course, excellent and elegant and beautiful and can be very expressive of our artistic, creative side, but at the same token, Songwriters have a very good, strong, and high quality sounding template that they usually are working from, and they start bending these rules from here to create different sounds. So go start making some songs. Go to your bass. You start learning how to play chords at this point, so make sure you start going 1 3 5 7, 1 3 5 flat 7, 1 flat 3 5 flat 7. Start going through all of your different chords and hearing how they sound and paying attention to the difference between just a regular triad chord or else a 7 chord that gives us 4 notes. Down the road, we're going to touch base on additional videos that start taking us more into the conversation about different types of chords, right? Sus chords, augmented chords, adding sharp nines and those types of things, but it's all a matter of numbers, okay? So make sure you start practicing with this stuff. Guys, this is Ryan from BassMatter.com signing off. We'll see you at the next lesson, which is where we're going to talk about something. I actually forgot what the next one on the list is, but we're going to talk about something. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you find us online, guys, okay? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. Subscribe to this newsletter, okay? Lots of great info we're going to continue to bring out of this channel here to help grow musicians out there, hopefully all over the world, and bring all of us bass brotherhood together. So anyway, we'll see you guys at the next lesson. This is Ryan signing off.